The strange signal. In the cold silence of space, far away from Earth, there was a space station called Orion 12. It floated quietly near a dead planet. Only a few humans worked there. One of them was Jake Carter, a repair technician. Jake liked silence. He worked alone, fixing machines and checking systems. He didn't care much about the stars or aliens. To him, space was just a job. Nothing exciting ever happened. Until that night. Jake sat in the control room, drinking his usual black coffee. The screens showed normal data, power levels, oxygen supply, radar. All boring. Then, suddenly, he heard something strange. A voice. A soft, broken voice. "Can I have a dad now, please?" Jake froze. He looked around. The control room was empty. He thought it was his mind playing tricks. But then, again, the same voice. "Please? Can I have a dad now?" Jake leaned forward. He traced the sound to an old communication line. One that hadn't worked for years. The signal was weak, full of static. It didn't come from Earth. Not even from the station. Came from somewhere nearby. In space. Jake's hands moved fast. He boosted the signal. He recorded the voice. He played it again. A child's voice. Female. Not human. Soft and scared. "Please, someone help us." Jake didn't believe in ghosts or aliens. But this was different. The voice felt real. Alive. He checked the map. About 300 kilometers away, something floated in space. A ship. Small, old, without any ID code. Jake called the other crew. No one answered. It was late. Most were sleeping. And honestly, no one cared about old signals. So Jake made a choice. He suited up, took a small shuttle, and flew toward the signal. As he got closer, he saw the ship. It was dark, rusty, and broken in many places. But it was still there. Still waiting. The shuttle connected with the ship. Jake opened the hatch. He stepped in. The air was thin, cold. Lights flickered. The ship was dying. Jake walked slowly. His flashlight showed old walls, torn wires, strange signs in an alien language. The ship was not human. He heard the voice again. "Please, help my mom. She's sick." Jake followed the sound. It led him to a locked room. Inside, he found them. A small alien girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sat inside a metal cage. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes glowed faint green. She looked thin, weak, but her eyes were full of hope. Next to her, lying on the floor, was another figure, an older alien woman. Her mother. Jake couldn't believe it. Real aliens. Alive. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. "Are you my new dad?" she asked softly. Jake didn't know what to say. He stepped closer to the cage. The girl moved back, scared. "I won't hurt you," Jake said slowly. "I'm here to help." The girl looked at her mother. The woman barely moved, but her eyes opened. She stared at Jake, not with fear, but with sadness. Jake tried to open the cage. It didn't budge. He used his tools, nothing worked. The metal was strange, not from Earth. Suddenly, the ship made a noise, a deep hum. Lights blinked red. Jake's heart raced. Something had activated. He turned back to the girl. "Who locked you here?" The girl's voice trembled. "Bad people. Long ago. They said we were dangerous. But we're not." Jake felt anger rise in him. What kind of people would lock a child and her mother in a cage and leave them in space? He looked at the mother. She was trying to speak, but her voice didn't come out. Instead, Jake felt a thought inside his mind. "Help her. She's just a child. Please." The mother was speaking to him. Inside his head, Jake took a deep breath. He looked at the girl. "I don't know if I can be your dad," he said, "but I'll get you out." The girl smiled. A small, tired smile. And then the ship spoke. A cold, robotic voice echoed in the hallway. "Unauthorized presence detected. Defense system activated." Jake's eyes widened. He had triggered something. Now he was trapped inside an alien ship with a child who called him Dad, and danger coming fast. He had to act quickly. The signal was no longer a mystery. It was a cry for help, and Jake was the only one who heard it. The ship was alive. Jake didn't know how, but he felt it. As he moved deeper inside, lights blinked on one by one, as if the ship was watching him. Breathing, waiting. The metal walls weren't smooth. They pulsed, almost like skin. Strange symbols glowed and faded, written in a language that didn't belong to humans. Jake had entered something ancient and angry. The girl's voice had stopped now. Silence filled the air, thick and heavy. Jake held his scanner close. The air quality was dropping fast. The temperature was near freezing. But that wasn't the part that scared him. What scared him was the feeling that he wasn't alone. As he reached the lower deck, he found a hallway filled with locked doors. Most were broken, doors hanging off hinges, wires sparking. But one door stood tall, clean, undamaged. The scanner beeped. Life signs detected. Inside, too. Jake stepped closer. The door had no handle, no keypad, just a smooth black surface. He placed his hand on it. Suddenly, the door hissed open. Inside, the room was dark, except for a single dim light above a small cage. There she was again, the alien girl. She sat curled in one corner, her small arms wrapped around her knees. Her eyes flicked up, glowing faintly when Jake entered. Next to her, her mother still lay on the ground, barely moving. The girl stood slowly. Her voice was small, careful. "You came back," she whispered. Jake nodded. "I said I would." The girl stepped closer to the bars. They looked like metal, but they hummed with energy. Something more than just a lock held them shut. Jake looked around for controls. There were none. "Why are you in here?" he asked gently. "They were scared of us," she said. "They locked us away. A long time ago. I don't remember how long." Jake crouched. "Who were they?" She didn't answer, but she pointed upward. "People in uniforms. Not like you. They wore masks. They said my mom was too dangerous. But she never hurt anyone." Jake's eyes narrowed. The girl's voice was too calm, too practiced, like she had repeated this to herself 100 times. He turned to the mother. Her eyes were open now, glowing faint silver. She didn't speak, but Jake felt something stir in his mind again. "Don't trust the ship." The voice was soft, but clear. Jake looked around. "Did you speak to me?" he asked. The girl shook her head. "That was my mom. She speaks without talking." Jake took a step closer to the cage. The hum grew louder. As he reached toward the bars, the ship reacted. A low growl, like metal grinding against metal, echoed through the hall. The girl looked scared. "It doesn't like when you try to open it." Jake pulled back. "What is this ship?" She looked at him, then whispered, "This ship is a jail." Jake froze. "A jail? For who?" "For my kind," she said. "We lost a war. A long time ago. The winners. They erased us from records. They locked us in space. My mom says we were forgotten on purpose." Jake stepped back. His mind was racing. A forgotten war? Erased history. Why would humans or any species go so far? Before he could ask more, the ship shook. A sharp alarm rang out. The floor lit up red. Lights flashed. The air grew colder. Jake turned to run. But the door behind him was now closed. Locked. He looked back at the girl. She grabbed the bars, her voice shaking. "You shouldn't have come alone. Now the ship won't let you go." Jake pulled at the door. Punched it. Useless. He looked at the cage again. The girl stared at him, eyes wide. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to trap you." "It's not your fault," Jake said, breathing hard. "It's this ship." Then, the mother's voice entered his mind again. "If you want to survive, listen carefully. There is one way out." Jake whispered, "What way?" "The ship still follows old commands. It believes the war isn't over. If you can make it believe you're one of them, it will obey." Jake's heart pounded. Pretend to be the enemy? He didn't know how, but he had no choice. The ship wasn't just old. It was haunted, not by ghosts, but by orders. Commands that never died. And now it thought Jake was a prisoner too. Jake turned back to the girl. I'll get you out. Both of you. The girl nodded slowly. Then, maybe I can call you Dad for real, she whispered. Jake gave her a tired smile. But deep inside, fear grew. This was no simple rescue. This was the start of something much bigger. The walls were breathing now. At least that's how it felt to Jake. Every few seconds, the strange alien ship pulsed. A deep, slow vibration, like a sleeping monster dreaming of war. Jake stood in front of the cage, sweat on his forehead. Even though the air was freezing, the small alien girl gripped the bars tightly. Her glowing eyes were full of fear. "We have to go," she whispered. "Now." Jake nodded. He tried again to open the cage. His tools sparked against the bars. Nothing worked. The energy field surrounding the metal was alive, reacting to every move. The mother lay behind the girl, still weak, eyes half open. But her voice was back, inside Jake's mind. "It's waking up fully. You have minutes, maybe less." Jake turned, scanning the control panels on the walls. Alien symbols lit up, faster now. The ship wasn't just activating defenses. It was preparing for war. Far above, deep in the ship's brain, something ancient stirred. Command echo. Prisoner breach. Defense protocol. Cleanse. Back on the lower deck, red lights flashed. The hallway behind Jake hissed, and from the shadows, something walked out. It looked like a drone. Tall, insect-like, with thin arms and sharp fingers made of black metal. Its eyes glowed orange. Jake stepped back. "What is that?" he asked. The girl's voice shook. "A guard. One of many." The drone saw Jake and screeched. A high, sharp sound that pierced his ears. Jake pulled out a small plasma cutter, a tool, not a weapon, but it was all he had. The drone moved fast, spider-like, charging toward him. He dodged. The drone smashed into the wall behind him, slicing through steel like butter. Jake turned, looked at the girl. "Stay back." He aimed the cutter, fired. The beam hit the drone's leg, cutting through part of it. The machine stumbled. Not enough. The girl screamed. The drone lunged again. But this time it froze, just for a second. Then it turned its head toward the mother. Her eyes were glowing white now. Her body was weak, but her mind was strong. Jake heard her voice again. "Now." The control node. Left wall. Jake looked left. A glowing panel pulsed behind a cracked glass cover. He smashed it open with his tool. Inside, a small round core humming with blue light. The ship's lock system. Without thinking, Jake pulled the core out. Sparks flew. The cage bars flickered, then shut down. The girl ran into Jake's arms. He grabbed her with one hand, lifted the mother with the other. She was barely conscious. "I've got you," Jake said. But the drone was recovering. Worse, two more crawled out from the walls behind it. The ship roared. The lights turned blood red. The hallway back to Jake's shuttle was now a battlefield. Escape. Now. Or die. Jake ran, holding the girl's hand, the mother's body over his shoulder. They moved fast through tight corridors. The girl shouted turns. Right. No, left. The vents faster. Behind them, the drones followed, screeching. Laser shots burned past Jake's head. One hit the wall beside them, blasting metal. Jake jumped down a narrow shaft, landed hard, rolled. The mother groaned. Still alive. The girl slid beside him. They were close. He could see the shuttle docked ahead, glowing faintly. Safety. Home. One last hallway. Jake limped forward, then stopped. A giant door had closed. The ship had locked them in. "No," Jake muttered. "No, no, no." He pounded the door. It didn't move. The girl looked up. Her voice was steady now, like someone much older. "We have one chance. My mom can force it open. But it'll cost her." Jake looked at the mother. Her eyes met his. "Save her. Even if I don't make it." Jake whispered, "You'll make it too." She didn't answer. Her eyes glowed brighter. The walls began to shake. The door in front of them screamed. Not a metal sound, but a living one, as if the ship itself felt pain. The door split apart. Jake ran through with the girl and mother. Behind them, the drones reached the hallway, but the mother looked back. One final pulse of her mind, and the door slammed shut, trapping the machines inside. She collapsed in Jake's arms. The shuttle doors opened. Jake carried them both inside. He launched. The alien ship shrank behind them, its red eyes still glowing in the dark. Jake breathed hard, shaking. The girl looked up at him. Her voice cracked. "You came back for us." Jake looked at her. "I said I would." She smiled, faintly, and whispered, "Thank you, Dad." The shuttle returned to Orion 12 station just before sunrise. No one noticed. That's how Jake wanted it. The hangar was quiet. Security cameras blinked, but Jake had looped them. One of the few tricks he'd learned from long, boring nights fixing systems no one cared about. He carried the mother, wrapped in a thermal blanket. The little alien girl walked beside him, holding his hand tightly. Her feet were silent. Her eyes scanned every shadow. "This place smells like metal and fear," she whispered. Jake didn't reply. He led them to the old storage bay, a place no one visited anymore. It used to hold mining equipment. Now it was just dust and silence. "This is where you'll stay," Jake said, placing the mother on a padded bench. He gave them water, food, blankets, and old light. "I'll come back when I can." The girl looked at him. "Will they find us?" Jake looked around. The walls were thin. The air vents hissed. Somewhere above, footsteps echoed from a hallway. "Not if we're careful," he said. "No one can know." The girl nodded slowly, but her eyes said something else. She already felt the danger. Later that day, Jake returned to the control room like nothing happened. The crew was waking up. Lights were on. Coffee machines buzzing. But something was wrong. The air felt tighter, tense. Jake's friend, Marcus, leaned over a console. "Hey," he said, "did you see that weird spike on the radar last night?" Jake tried to stay calm. "No, probably just debris." Marcus frowned. "No, it was moving. Fast. Looked like a ship, then vanished." Jake shrugged. "Old junk. Space is full of ghosts." But Marcus didn't laugh. He stared at Jake longer than usual. "Right?" Jake turned away, heart racing. He didn't notice the camera above the door shift, ever so slightly, to follow him. That night, he went back to the storage bay. The girl ran to him. "She's worse," she whispered. Jake knelt beside the alien mother. Her breathing was slow, her glow dim. Jake didn't know how to heal her. She wasn't human. Medicine wouldn't work. "She's using too much energy," the girl said. "She's still connected to the ship. She's fighting it from far away." Jake blinked. "From here? That's not possible." The girl looked up. "She's not like you." Jake sat back, his head spinning. Aliens who could speak without words. Control machines. Keep mental battles across space. What had he gotten into? He opened his mouth to speak, but stopped. Footsteps. Someone was outside. Jake stood, motioned to the girl to stay quiet. The footsteps passed the door and stopped. Silence. Then a voice. "Jake." It was Marcus. Jake opened the door a crack. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Marcus looked confused. "Nervous. I followed your keycard. You were logged in down here last night." Jake forced a smile. "Just checking the old systems." Marcus peered inside. His eyes caught the glow, just a flicker, from the girl's eyes in the dark. "What was that?" "Nothing," Jake said quickly. "Just an old light." But Marcus's face changed. He pushed the door open and saw her. The girl froze. Marcus stepped back. "What the hell?" Jake grabbed him. "Stop. She's not dangerous." Marcus pulled away, eyes wide. "You brought them here?" Jake's voice dropped. "Keep your voice down." But it was too late. The security sensors were already flashing red. Jake's ID was now marked "Suspicious Movement Detected" in the main system. Somewhere on the station, a report was being written. Automatically. Silently. Later that night, Jake sat alone in the engine room, his head in his hands. The girl stood by the door. "She's dying, Jake." He looked up. "I don't know what to do." The girl stepped closer. Can humans adopt someone from another planet? Jake stared at her. I don't think that's a real law. She nodded, then whispered, then make one. Jake laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing keeping him sane. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A message appeared on every screen. Incoming government vessel. ETA. 4 hours. Jake's heart dropped. Marcus must have reported it. Or maybe the station had done it itself. The girl looked up at him. You said you'd protect us. Jake stood. I still will. But far above the planet, a sleek black ship cut through space, silent, sharp, and fast. Inside, masked officers read the logs from Orion 12. They didn't speak. They only nodded. One of them typed a message. Recover the prisoners. Eliminate the witness if needed. At 2:39 a.m., the girl opened her eyes. She wasn't dreaming. She was remembering. The stars had always whispered to her. But now they screamed. Images flashed in her mind. Metal ships, burning worlds, two voices arguing in a strange language, and finally, her mother's face covered in blue light, and her father's voice. Run! She sat up on the couch in John's house. He was asleep in the chair nearby, holding a photo of her, the baby photo Ina had given him. The girl stood quietly and walked outside. The moonlight felt different, and so did she. Across the street, in the black van, 2 agents watched her on the monitor. She's moving. Wait for command. She's looking right at us. They laughed. But on screen, she was staring straight into the lens. And then the screen went black. Inside the van, all systems shut down. The lights, the cameras, the GPS. Everything died, except the girl's glowing reflection in the windshield. She knows, one whispered. She's awake, the other replied. Back in the house, John woke up gasping. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The fireplace had gone cold. His phone wouldn't turn on. Then he saw her, standing in the yard. And behind her, slowly walking out of the trees, Ina. John ran outside. What's happening? Why are you here again? He asked. Ina didn't smile this time. There's no more time for pretending, she said. John looked at the girl. What is she? Ina didn't answer. She looked at the sky. A strange rumble echoed above them. Clouds twisted in unnatural shapes. Lights flickered in the stars. She was never meant to survive this long, Ina said softly. John stepped between them. What do you mean? She was an experiment, John. A gift and a mistake. The girl turned to Ina. I was born from both worlds. Ina nodded. Yes, that's why you're dangerous. John shouted. She's just a kid. No, Ina said, eyes glowing faintly. She's a hybrid with power that neither side understands. Your DNA mixed with ours created something new. Something we cannot control. John grabbed the girl's hand. She's not a weapon. Ina looked at him, and for the first time her voice cracked. You don't understand. There's another species coming. One that wants to wipe out both our kinds. And they've felt her energy, her presence. John's heart dropped. You mean she's a target? She's the spark of a war, John. A war she didn't choose. The girl whispered, I don't want to fight. Ina replied, You might not have a choice. Suddenly, a loud boom shook the ground. They all turned. Far above the hills, a ship appeared in the sky. But not like Ina's kind. This one was darker. Spiked. Burning red lights. John stepped back. Who are they? Ina answered with just 2 words. They kill. The girl's hands began to glow. She wasn't angry. She was afraid. But her fear had power now, real power. The grass around her turned silver. The air hummed. John reached out. You don't have to fight. The girl looked up, tears in her eyes. But I think I was made for it. From the ship, 3 shapes dropped down, silent, fast, and inhuman. Black armor, red visors, no faces, weapons aimed at the girl. John stood in front of her. I won't let you take her. They fired. Time slowed. The girl raised one hand. Everything froze mid-air. The bullets stopped. The attackers froze like statues. And in a soft, almost broken voice, she said, "No more fear." A shockwave burst from her body, no sound, just force. Trees bent backward. The red-eyed soldiers shattered into dust. The sky cracked with light. And then, silence. John stood in disbelief. Even Ina looked shaken. The girl collapsed. John caught her. "She didn't want to hurt them," he whispered. Ina knelt beside her. "And yet, she might be the only one who can save us." In the distance, the ship turned and began to retreat. For now, the air on Orion 12 felt colder. Not because of space, because of silence. Jake stood in the docking bay as the government ship connected to the station. It was black, sharp, and silent. No flags, no names, just power and fear. He could feel it in his chest. The kind of fear that didn't scream. It whispered. He watched the ramp lower slowly. 3 figures stepped out, tall, masked, dressed in clean, silver armor. Their boots echoed. Their eyes were hidden. Jake didn't move. The leader spoke with a voice that didn't sound human or machine, but something in between. "We're here for the artifact." Jake frowned. "What artifact?" The figure tilted its head. "The one you smuggled into this station." Behind them, Marcus stood quietly, arms crossed. Jake felt the ground tilt under him. Marcus had reported them. His friend, his teammate, his shadow. 2 hours earlier, Marcus had come to the storage bay, pretending to bring food, pretending to care. But Jake had seen it in his eyes, the fear, the guilt, the cold betrayal hiding behind a tired smile. "I had to," Marcus had whispered. "They would have erased me too." Jake didn't punch him. He didn't scream. He just looked at him, like someone watching a fire burn the last tree in a forest. Back in the bay, the alien girl sat holding her mother's hand. She knew. She had felt the moment it happened. "They're here," she whispered. The glow from her mother's body was almost gone now, soft like the last star in a dying sky. Jake returned, running. "They know," he said. "They're coming for you." The girl didn't ask how. She already knew that too. "I won't leave her," she said. Jake knelt down. His eyes burned, but he didn't cry. "She wouldn't want you to die." The girl looked at her mother, and for the first time, spoke out loud in her own language, a sound like music and wind and broken glass. Her mother opened her eyes, just once, just enough, and whispered into Jake's mind, "Take her, now." Jake reached for the girl. She grabbed her mother's hand one last time, and let go. They ran, through vents, back tunnels, emergency paths only engineers used. Jake knew every bolt, every hatch. He had built this station with his hands. Now he was using it to escape it. Alarms were quiet at first, then louder. Warning. Unauthorized movement detected. Lockdown in progress. The soldiers were close. They were tracking his ID, his steps, his thoughts. But Jake had one advantage left. He had nothing to lose. In the old docking ring, Jake reached the emergency pod. Small, cramped, hidden, just enough to carry 2 lives away. He opened the door, then stopped. The girl was looking back. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't crying. She was glowing. Her eyes had changed. Brighter, wiser, like someone far older than her years. "You said you'd protect me," she whispered. Jake nodded. "I will." "No," she said. "You already did." She placed a hand on the wall of the pod. It lit up, symbols glowing that weren't human code. Jake stared. The ship recognized her. She was no longer a prisoner. She was a survivor. Back on the main deck, the leader of the masked officers slammed a fist into the table. The engineer escaped. Marcus stood nearby, silent. The officer turned to him. "You said he was loyal." Marcus nodded weakly. I thought he was." The officer stepped closer. "No one is loyal when truth wakes up." They left. Not with the girl. Not with the mother. But with something else. Fear. Hours later, the escape pod floated through empty space. The girl looked out the window. Jake sat beside her, hands shaking, mind racing. She's gone, he whispered. The girl nodded. But her voice will stay with you. Jake looked at her. What now? The girl turned her head. We find a world that still remembers. Jake gave a weak laugh. Do those exist? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her bag, the small cloth pouch she had carried all along, and pulled out a glowing stone. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Jake stared. What is that? The girl smiled. Hope. The stars were quiet again. Earth had survived the fire. Cities were damaged, skies were gray, but people were alive. They had seen death fall from above, and hope rise from within. At the center of it all stood Jack Harper, once a simple mechanic, now something far more. He sat alone on the edge of a healing cliff, the ocean stretching below. Blue waves crashed softly. The spark inside him had settled, but it wasn't silent. It was waiting, watching, breathing. Behind him, Zyra stepped onto the stone. You're not sleeping again, she said. Jack didn't turn. Feels like if I sleep, I'll wake up in another life. Zyra sat beside him. She no longer wore her full armor, just simple black cloth, her blade resting on her back like a silent promise. Jack looked at her. You were right. About what? He smiled slightly. I wasn't ready. She tilted her head. And now? Jack took a deep breath. Now I think I was never supposed to be ready. I was supposed to change. Zyra didn't reply, but she understood. She had changed too. They had all changed. Far above them, hidden behind the moons of Jupiter, a new object arrived. Not a ship, not a weapon, a gate, round, floating, ancient, larger than Earth's capital cities combined. Its surface glowed with symbols no living being could read, except one. Jack felt it before the alarms ever rang. He stood suddenly. It's here, he whispered. Zyra stood with him. The last gate. The council called Jack into orbit. This time, no guards, no questions, just silence, respect, and fear. Jack stood in front of Earth's leaders, generals, and scientists. He pointed at the screen showing the gate. It's not here to destroy, he said. It's here to choose. Choose what? One leader asked. Jack looked down at his hands. Whether this galaxy should continue or reset. The room fell silent. Zyra stepped forward. The gate is a test. It awakens only when a spark is ready. Jack is that spark. One scientist asked, and if we fail? Zyra's voice was steady. Everything ends. Time, light, life. It all folds back. The council fell into panic. Debates started. Orders clashed. But Jack wasn't listening. The spark was pulling him. He turned to Zyra. I need to go. She nodded. Then I'm going with you. They boarded the ship for one final journey. No army, no weapons, just two souls against the unknown. As they approached the gate, its center began to open. Not like a door, more like an eye watching. Jack stepped onto a floating platform that extended from the ship. Zyra stayed behind. This is your path. Jack turned to her. You've been with me from the beginning. And I'll be here at the end, she said. The platform moved forward. Jack floated into the center of the gate. Inside, there was no sky, no ground, only light and whispers. Jack heard voices. Some sounded like his, some like strangers, some like gods. You carry the spark. You are the key. Will you open the future or close it forever? A figure formed before him, glowing, shifting, not quite real. It looked like Jack, but older, wiser. Who are you? Jack asked. The figure smiled. I am what you become if you choose to rise. Jack blinked. And if I don't? The figure turned into a shadow. Then I am what you become if you fall. The space around him shifted. He saw Earth burning. He saw galaxies collapsing. He saw Zyra alone in the dark. He saw peace. He saw war. He saw himself, both as a hero and as a monster. Then the voice returned. You may write the ending. Choose. Back on the ship, Zyra stood still. Time felt frozen. Suddenly, the gate pulsed with light. The space around it bent and cracked. Jack, she whispered. Inside the gate, Jack took a breath. I don't want to be a god, he said. The voice replied, then be something better. Jack closed his eyes. The spark flared. He rewrote fate. The gate shattered not with violence, but with release. His pieces turned into stars, flying into deep space. Jack floated down, glowing softly, eyes calm. Zyra caught him as he landed. What happened? She asked. Jack smiled. I didn't choose power. I chose possibility. In the days that followed, strange things happened. Dead worlds bloomed again. Lost species returned. Machines began to dream. And in the center of it all was Jack, the man who once bought a warrior and ended up saving the galaxy. Zyra stayed by his side. Not as a guard. Not as a fighter. As a friend. As the woman who helped rewrite destiny. One evening, as stars twinkled across the sky, Zyra asked him, so what now? Jack leaned back and smiled. We live.